Hello, everyone. So, I am here to share a message from Jesus. And in this message, he shares a story of three sisters. And this is an extremely powerful story. And it puts a lot of things into perspective. So, Jesus spoke. There were three sisters who grew up in a loving family. They were 14, 12, and 11 years old. The sisters were very close and always spent a lot of time together. They would often play outside and play games with dolls and pretend to be things such as doctors, nurses, school teachers, etc. Their parents always admired their overwhelming sense of joy and happiness at the little things. Even when something became broken or something bad happened, the sisters would always find a way to look for the good in bad situations. I did give them this grace to display to others around them, even their parents. Their parents struggled to make ends meet, but they often tried to hide it from their daughters so as to not worry them. I would lead the sisters to embrace their parents with love and alleviate their stress and be assured that things would come together. The parents would also allow the sisters to walk to a nearby store often to get treats during the daytime hours, thinking it was safe since everyone in the neighborhood would allow the same with their children. One day, things became different and would change this family's life forever. This day was like any other day, and the girls walked to a nearby store to get treats. They didn't notice that there had been a white van watching them for the past week, analyzing their every move when the sisters were let outside to play. There were three men in this van, between the ages of 25 to 40, and they kept watch of the sisters for a week to learn their patterns and observe each one's behavior and personality and plan out the perfect time to take them. You see, I tried to communicate to them in their hearts, as these men were all introduced to me at some point in their lives, but all rejected me and shut out my voice and began to give into the insatiable desires of their flesh. Because I give everyone free will, I had to allow what would take place next. On this day, the sisters took their normal route to the store and purchased their treats with the money given to them by their parents. This was in the 1970s, so things were very inexpensive, and they would buy things for the three of them to share. On the way back home, the girls would often cut through a short alley to shorten their trip home. It was this action that the three men took advantage of and were able to grab the girls and throw them in the van and speed away. The girls screamed and pleaded with the men to let them go, but to no avail. Two of the men put duct tape around the sisters' mouths to muffle their screams and tied their hands as the other drove them to a remote location that they prepared to take the sisters to. Over the next 2 weeks, the sisters would endure suffering on an unimaginable level. To spare you too many details, they were raped repeatedly, drugged, forced to drink alcohol, and given little food and water, so they became malnourished. Meanwhile, the sisters' parents, after noticing their daughters were missing, reported it to the police, and the search for them began. What most didn't know was that a mute and disabled homeless woman witnessed the sisters being thrown into a van and was able to get the license plate number and deliver it to the police. This woman was my servant and was a friend of the sisters, who would often use some of their money to buy the woman a small snack and drink. That day, the sisters didn't see the woman. After struggling to find the sisters for 3 weeks, they were finally located, and the men arrested, and the 14 and 11-year-old were rescued, looking completely malnourished and broken. When asked where their 12-year-old sister was, the sisters broke down in uncontrollable tears and stated that the sister had been murdered by the men a week prior. The police searched the surrounding area for her body and found it in a small lake near the home where the sisters were found. This sister had fought their attackers and was murdered in the process. The sisters were brought in for questioning about what they endured and shared what they experienced, and the men were convicted for many years. The sisters were reunited with their family, and through my strength and grace, slowly started the journey to pick up the broken pieces and deal with the trauma they had endured. They held a funeral for the sister whose life was lost, and the sisters constantly did things in memory of their sister. The joy the sisters once had was never truly the same as it was in the beginning before their abduction and abuse. And both sisters dealt with a lifetime of struggle and pain, in addition to the parents being on the brink of losing all hope at what happened to their daughters, blaming themselves for allowing them to travel to the store alone. I provided them with peace and comfort that it wasn't their fault, but they never truly recovered from that pain. You may ask why I allowed all of this. What was the purpose? I say to you that without suffering, no one truly knows how to learn compassion and the value of what being good really means. There can be no lesson without pain and strife, and when you seek after a life where everything goes well, you miss out on the opportunity I have for you to grow. I also shared this story to bring awareness of what happens to so many innocent children every day. This occurrence happened years ago, but it's still occurring at a higher level today. Those sisters who endured that suffering did nothing wrong, but I used their pain to soften the hearts of others and help others to seek out more meaningful paths and recognize how much they've wasted their lives on pointless and baseless things. I use these same means today to get the attention of my children who are headed on the wrong path. You also ask how I feel towards the men who abuse these sisters. I love them just as I love the sisters, but I was also grieved at what was done. These men knew of me and didn't have harsh upbringings, so there was no motive but to satisfy their flesh. They took account of their sins, but sadly, one was lost to me in their own choice. The other two are with me in glory as well as the sisters. I am not a cruel taskmaster, but my aim always is for all to know my heart and will for their lives, and to learn what it truly means to love one another and love me above all things. That journey to developing true love is never an easy one because it comes with pain and suffering, but that is the perfect road that all must take to completely obtain true love. If you seek this path always, you will get very far with me. Trust in me, not in what you see. And that was the end of Jesus' message and the story about the three girls. So that was a very sad story. And I'm sure that was hard for a lot of us to hear, especially those who are listening that may have been abused, that may have gone through any type of physical, sexual abuse. You know, my heart goes out to you. And hopefully through Jesus' message here, you understand a little bit more about why God allows certain things like this to happen, especially to children. And we live in an age right now where there is an extreme attack on children. And I've spoken about this before, but it's getting worse. From the last time I talked about it a year, 2 years ago, things have gotten worse. And the war against children and stripping them of their innocence has increased all the more, and this grieves Jesus's heart so much. And this is why he shared this story with me. This is a true story. I don't know the names, he didn't give me that, but he did reveal to me that this was a true story that happened to three sisters in the 70s. So I'm not sure if it was ever put in the news or anything like that, but he did share with me that this was a story that actually happened. And it grieves me that this is still happening today. And it's happening way more than what's actually being reported in the news. So we have to be mindful of that too. That everything we learn or everything that we know from what people are sharing with us, it's not the 100% full truth. And that's why we need God and we need discernment to know what the truth is, and being able to walk in that truth no matter what. So I pray that somewhere in this message that you will hear the heart of God, that you will know that he loves us in spite of the suffering that we have to endure in this life. We cannot avoid suffering. We cannot avoid bad things happening to us. That is a part of God's purpose for us. That's a part of us growing in spiritual things. You know, we are not going to be able to grow if we don't go through suffering. So I pray that we will take this to heart. I pray that we will continue to seek God for anything that we don't understand. And I know that he will reveal it to us in his own way, in his own timing. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.